To become the Notre Dame we seek to be, it is not the work of some of us, but all of us. And this work is not optional for any of us, for it is at the heart of our mission to make Notre Dame a place that is ever more characterized by respect for every person, care for one another, and a commitment to justice and solidarity.
Let me read a little bit from King. He was a prolific writer and preacher. On August 11th, 1956, he delivered The Birth of a New Age at the 50th anniversary of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity in Buffalo. He said, and this is just a short amount from a very long talk, "We must prepare to go into this new age without bitterness. That is a temptation, that is a danger to all of those of us who have lived for many years under the yoke of oppression, and those of us who have been confronted with injustice, those of us who have lived under the evils of segregation and discrimination will go into the new age with bitterness and indulging in hate campaigns. We cannot do it that way, for if we do it that way, it will be just a perpetuation of the old way. We must conquer the hate of the old age and the love of the new age, and go into a new age with a love that is understanding for all men, to have with it a forgiving attitude. It has with it something that will cause you to look deep down within every man and see within him something of godliness. That's something that will cause you to stand up before him and love him."
Awareness that everyone around you, everyone has their own struggles, but not just ignoring and believing that the ones right next to you might be the ones that are struggling the most. Terrible incidents of hate crimes and violence, they may be happening in higher statistically in bigger cities, but that doesn't mean that the people next to you aren't suffering as much, aren't suffering, with their mental health. Last year, especially with the pandemic, with COVID-19, there was a huge spike in racial crimes, hate crimes against Asian Americans, and even though that was happening, you were seeing it in the news in cities like New York, San Francisco. Me and my classmates, sometimes we were scared to go outside. I saw trending this woman who was just walking down the street in New York, and a man just shoved her and started stomping on her head. And I had to get up and walk out of class, and I was crying. And I know we're here for school, academics is, a top priority of us, but that was a really hard time for me as a student. And I think, when we educate ourselves, as you were saying, about that our classmates around us are diverse, have different culture experiences, but being aware of what's going on in society and not ignoring it and pretending that's not happening or affecting us, I think those are really important steps to really build a beloved and safe community here.
Thinking about what it means to build a beloved community and thinking about tonight's talk, I've actually been thinking a lot about the motto of the Green Dot Initiative on campus. Nobody has to do everything, but everybody has to do something. And I think that on our campus, in our country, in our world, some people are doing everything. A lot of those people for our campus are here in this room tonight, from student government, from the Office of the President, people working for diversity and inclusion. But I don't believe that everybody's doing something.
But the reality is Notre Dame is not perfect. There have been times that here that I have felt unwelcome, and there have been other people in NASAND as well, and I'm sure the other groups here on campus who have felt that their voices don't matter. And I think what is important to realize is that, first of all, you need to listen when they are speaking to you. And handling somebody who thinks that Notre Dame is great is a good thing, but also realizing that your voice matters and telling them the reality is that Notre Dame isn't great that like all the time, and that's okay. And it's like the only way that change is going to happen is if we are realistic about what Notre Dame is and the goals it has, and that it may not be there yet.
To love something isn't to overlook its flaws. And in fact, it's the opposite. To love something is to see its flaws and see, oh, you know, this is still not quite a home for everyone, but because I love the Golden Dome, because I love our Mother Mary, I want to do what I can to make it that home for everyone. And I feel like, you know, the truth and the reality of where we stand is uncomfortable. But there's a lot of good that will come out of addressing it as it is. It's so scary to be uncomfortable. But it's so important for our majority allies to embrace that discomfort, because if they don't, then all that discomfort just gets pushed back onto the minority students. And it's only just that, you know, they also share in that vulnerability of maybe they don't know what to say at first.
If we're going to build a beloved community, it's built by everybody. And everybody, we need to start moving forward and understanding that we need to engage in these kind of conversations. There's no way, if you want to get out of this, you're not contributing to that beloved community. And then are we reaching that point? So it's the mentality that we have to call things out when we see them wrong. And nowadays, you have to be very careful with what you say. I mentioned before, there can be consequences like certain reactions, but I think it's when you see something wrong, you have to call it out. And there's no place in this campus for racism or any type of bigotry against someone, but feeling uncomfortable cannot be a factor to deter you from calling things out, you know?
You know, Notre Dame, for me, has been quite the adventure. It's had its good times and bad times, but it's a whole roller coaster and it's ending. But I feel that for everyone who is still navigating this university, finding their homes, whether it's in their clubs, in their dorms, or for those that are still like not sure where they fit in, you do have a place here. You have a whole community behind you, whether you know it or not. And the university for sure, I love this university even though I know that there are faults, but work is being done.
Dr. Jamar Tisby, a New York best-selling author, an activist, and a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, in a podcast and newsletter, offered a reflection on the dream of Dr. King that I find fitting to conclude our discussion here today. He begins by asking, what does MLK's often misused dream remain? Why does MLK's often misused dream remain so elusive? Why are we still fighting some of the same battles, including the fight for voting rights, today as King and others fought for half a century ago? This is the answer he offers. We have the words of Dr. King, but not his walk. We quote King, but we do not live like him. We celebrate him, but we do not imitate him. We love King's wisdom, but not King's way. We all have a critical role to play in maintaining and creating a beloved community. Are we going to go back to the normal day-to-day? Or are we going to labor and do our part to ensure that we build a beloved community where justice rolls like a river and righteousness like a mighty stream?